Hello everyone, today we have new video review, and as you can see this time we are going to talk about fresh release from ICM. It's a kit in 1/32 scale, and you can notice that it copies a helicopter AH-1G famous Cobra, but this particular version is named as Arctic Cobra, so it comes in a large 1/32 scale, and it will be interesting for all fans of this particular type. And obviously we have a commercial sample on our table, so it means you will get exactly the same stuff as what you'll see in this video review. As you can notice, the kit number is 32063, and this is, as far as I remember, already a third version of this set. We reviewed all previous releases as well, so you can find it easily on our YouTube channel, but today we are going to talk about this Arctic Cobra version. So first of all, box size is the same as the previous releases. Here you can see comparison with my hand. We have really nice box art on the front, and again I will repeat what I was saying in the previous videos. It would be cool to get these images as a posters, maybe as a nice bonus in the box. Next, here in the on one of the sides we have a short history note and also some information about the kit. So as far as you can see, there are 241 parts, and length of the finished model will be 442 millimeters, which is rather impressive even in this scale. Let's not forget that we are dealing with a helicopter, not an aircraft. And here we have three marking options which are included into this kit. We will talk about them in detail when we will be checking the assembly manual, because usually ICM supplies marking guides in the assembly manual. Now I have to remove the plastic tape seals which are keeping the top cover in place, and as you can see it's a bit tricky because I'm using a sharp knife on extended hands, but it's doable, so let's proceed. And as usual, I will remind you that if these seals are removed, it means that somebody was opening the box before you, and it would be a good idea to check everything if all the parts are still in the box and if they're not damaged. And of course it would be a good idea to ask seller why this box was opened at all. So, as you can see, this is a tall box, so it's a bit tricky to be taken off the inner box, which is made out of cardboard. So, just give me a second to do it off the camera. And as I said in the previous videos, I saw some modelers really frustrated with this, and they were just tearing apart this top cover, which is used only to carry the box art. It does not provide any, let's say, practical function for this package, and you can see I'm still struggling with taking it off. Okay, so I'll do it on the camera so that you can understand what I'm talking about. So here is this flexible part which sits tight, and next we continue with the sturdy white cardboard box which protects all the things inside. And if I open it, here is what we have inside. So there are one plastic bag. There is only one plastic bag with all the sprues, and also assembly manual with decal sheet. Obviously we will check everything one by one, and we are going to start with the plastic first. I will just have to open it, so give me a second. And by the way, this is a resealable plastic bag, so you can use it later in order to store some parts, or maybe to let's say preserve some of the elements later, because obviously not all the parts will be used here. Because, for example, on the first sprue here, which I will put on the table in a second, we have two types of the tail fin. Obviously you won't be able, not that you won't have, but you won't be able to use both, so one of them will stay in your spare parts box. We also have propeller blades here. These are these large panels which will have to be glued together, and everything looks cool. So if I zoom in here, you can see that we have nice external features, and in my opinion they will look even better after some careful painting and weathering. There are also several types of the nose turret, so it will heavily depend on what type of the helicopter you will be replicating. Note that tail propeller comes as a single piece part, and maybe it would be a wise idea to somehow strengthen the overall assembly of the propeller, because these are relatively large parts, let's say, and it would be necessary to provide some rigidity for them. Of course, inside we have some guiding elements. I'm just a bit confused because we have these push marks, but obviously it's just a matter of scribing them with a sharp knife and you'll be good to go. Next, we continue with another plastic sprue. Actually, it's a pair of identical plastic sprues. So I will show you only one because they carry the same set of parts. But here we have a mix of armament as well as the landing gear parts, and everything looks cool. It's really great that we have armament, all the external items and weapons supplied out of the box. You don't have to get them as an aftermarket. And note that landing gear wheels, they should be assembled out of 2 hulls. We also have the special landing gear legs which are installed on the railings. And if I zoom in again, so here you can take a closer look at all these parts. In my opinion, even the tiniest bits look nice and clean, so it's just a matter of careful separation of the frame and you'll be good to go. And of course, nobody stops you from adding some fine features, because obviously there is a wiring to copy or maybe some panel lines to rescribe in case you damage them, so there is plenty of work. It will be noticeable in a 1/32 scale, because this is a relatively large model. And note that each part which is divided into 2 hulls, we have guiding elements inside, so it should be easy to combine all these things together. Next, we continue with another plastic sprue. So this one comes with a first fuselage panel, that's a bottom or belly panel, let's say, and this is really great that it comes as a single piece part. It means we won't have any seams in the middle of these hatches. We also have several versions of the railings or landing gear railings, and as you can see, it will depend again on the type of the aircraft you will be building. And if I zoom in here, you can take a closer look at this lower fuselage panel. We have nice external features and rivets. Next, we continue with some parts for the towing, and here we have some parts for the main propeller. Again, there are several versions of these actuators, so be careful and choose the right ones, because it will be a really important feature of this aircraft. And of course, it will be noticeable if you choose to install a completely wrong type on your aircraft. Next, we continue with another armament sprue, and I guess this one is specific for today's version because I don't remember it being in the previous boxings. But here you can see that we have a Gatling gun which should be glued out of 2 hulls, surprisingly. So be careful while doing this stuff. And of course we have some side gondolas which will be used for external armament, but everything looks fine. The only thing which kinda bothers me is the Gatling gun, which should be glued out of 2 hulls. We have it with guiding elements inside, but still it's a bit, I would say, surprising design. I would rather get the single piece part, or maybe have it separated so that we don't have a seam in the middle, but who knows, maybe it will work for some of you. Now I'm opening another plastic bag with a clear sprue, so it is packed separately, obviously, to avoid of any accidental damage. And here you can see all these clear parts. So Canopy should be openable here. It means you can assemble the open cockpit on your model. And I hope the masks template is included. As you can see, molding quality is really great. So it would be cool to get at least masks template so that you can focus on the painting process instead of trying to cut precise fit masks for these clear parts. And last but not the least is this gray plastic sprue with the fuselage halves. So you can notice that the engine section is pre-molded here, while tail fin will be installed separately. Here we have also a cockpit tab and also pilot seats there. So if I zoom in and we start again from the corner, here you can take a closer look at this cockpit floor. We have also nice raised rivets here. They look great in a 1/32 scale. We also get openable hatch. As far as I remember, you can expose the internals of the engine, even though it's not like fully detailed engine included here, but still it's nice touch from ICM. And here we can check another fuselage half from the right side. And if I flip it over, inside you won't find that many features, but do not be worried because, for example, cockpit features, they will be copied with separate parts which are inserted into these fuselage halves, and then later you will get a nice, more or less realistic finish. Now I'm removing the decals sheet out of the assembly manual where it is usually supplied in ICM kits. So just give me a moment. So decal sheet, there is only one, but here we have all necessary symbols, as you remember, for 3 marking options. And in my opinion, it looks nice. I mean, the printing quality is good. We have also some cockpit decals. Obviously, if you would like to have a nicely detailed cockpit, it would be a wise idea to get the PE parts, because they will offer you more features in the cockpit, and this is really important in a 1/32 scale. And we also get stencils out of the box. Here you can take a closer look at them. And it might be a bit tedious to apply all this to my tiny writings, but believe me, the final result will be noticeable, especially in 1/32 scale. So do not be lazy with this thing. Next, we continue with assembly manual. So here I will close the lenses a bit so that it won't be that bright for you, and maybe a bit more. So here we have a color printed brochure with a short history note, technical specifications, and also paints chart here. Next, we continue with the parts map, and obviously red color means that these parts will not be used. So as you can see, there are plenty of elements which will stay on the frames. Next, we start assembly with the pilot seats. Each one of those should be glued out of several parts and then be installed on the cockpit tab. Then we continue with the combing panel and instrument panel. Combining together. Here you get a chance to use decals. Again, I remind you that I think Edward already has the PE upgrade set, which should look great in a 1/32 scale. And then we start working on the main engine turbine. So as you can see, we have quite a lot of parts which will go inside the helicopter. And there is also a dependency on the tail fin choice based on what marking you pick. So pay attention to this. Then we install this shaft sub-assembly into the fuselage, and that's what actually you can expose by opening the hatch. As you remember, there was a separate hatch on the fuselage. We also insert the bulkhead and cockpit tab into the fuselage. It's a left fuselage panel or left fuselage half, and then we join fuselage halves together. Next, we continue with various canopy parts. Note that no section should be glued out of 2 hulls, so be careful with this because it's a quite, I would say, visible and noticeable area, so it's important to avoid any unnecessary seams and gaps in this place. But at least this belly panel, as you remember, it is supplied as a single piece part. Next, we continue with the nose turret. So here again, the choice will depend on the marking you pick. Side pylons get assembled out of several parts, and obviously they're installed from both sides. And then we assemble the Gatling gun. So as you can see, it should be glued out of several parts. Note that the frontal section is supplied as a separate part. So maybe it might work in this form as well, and it will be installed on one of the pylons, as you can see here. Next, we continue with this side gondolas being installed on both sides of the fuselage. Here we install more of the pylons on the side wings, tail wings getting installed on the tail, and here we install the railings. And as far as you can see, only one version is applicable for all 3 markings. Here we have canopy installation, so you get to install also one of the control parts for the cockpit inside. And next we continue with more canopy parts. Note that manufacturer does not, let's say, recommend or show the possibility to open the cockpit, which is rather surprising. The same can be said about this engine compartment, even though here we have this special part for the open version, so I guess that means that you can open it from both sides, as you can see here. Next, we start working finally on the main rotor. So here you get to assemble it out of several parts. And as I said before, it would be a wise idea to think how to make it a bit more sturdy so that it won't be, let's say, easy to break. And maybe also to replicate the sag, which is present on the real aircraft as far as I remember. Correct me if I'm wrong, of course. And next we continue with landing gear wheels. So all this stuff is being used for the parked position. Here we have also the towing rack. And of course we have a masks template, which is rather great because it will help you to mask this canopy and get the nice paint finish. Here we have a separate page for the external armament and also loadout schemes which are possible on this aircraft. And of course we have a marking guide. So here is aircraft from 1975, 1973, and another one from 1968. All three are coming from Alaska, and I can see that it is AH-1G. Okay, so this set should be already available and you can get it in ModeliMax webshop. Of course, I will be happy to hear your opinion about such a list. Do not forget to write it here in the comment section below. If you like this video, press the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I will see you in the next video review as usual. Thank you for joining me today, and bye.